The National Assembly has approved the amended Deeds Registry Bill. Ghana Police Force detained a couple for illegally possessing a firearm. According to the Minister of Health, the majority of COVID-19 hospitalized patients are not vaccinated. In the region, 2 people were killed as 2 earthquakes rocked Haiti, and internationally, at least 8 killed in stampede at Cameroon AFCON match. Greetings and welcome to another edition of Channel 2 Headline News Update. I am Bibi Bacchus. Thank you for joining us. The National Assembly approved the amended Deeds Registry Bill 2021 on Monday, January 24th. Enshrined within is that anyone who fails to register, file, or record a power of attorney without the attached copies of photographic identification document and witness statement in the case of a power of attorney executed outside of Guyana commits an offense. This bill's passage is consequential to the powers of attorney bill passed earlier in the House. Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs Anil Nandlal noted that the bill makes it difficult for persons bent on committing fraud. In support of the amendment, Government Member of Parliament Sanjeev Datidin highlighted that the amended documents now required to legally obtain a power of attorney are what must be filed as records at the Deeds Registry.
The legislation that the Honorable Attorney General has recommended to the House speaks very simply. What it does can be divided into 2, perhaps 3 headings. One is it provides how it can be made, meaning who must be present and what must they do to meet the requirements of the law. So it says that the person giving the power, referred to as the donor, he must be present with 2 forms of identification. It says the donee, who is the person receiving, must also be present and must also have 2 forms of identification. So what it does, which had not been in the law before, is it now requires the recipient of the power to be present and to provide identification. So that's one aspect. Secondly, it says the notary or the magistrate, they must now be satisfied and take copies of the identification documents provided. For example, as it would be in the data page of your passport, if that's what's being used. You must provide, they must receive pictorial representations, which means they got to see your picture along with your ID so they can ascertain who you are. What must then happen is the notary himself must make a record of these things. Now, if it is done where one person is overseas and one person is in Guyana, each notary must discharge those obligations, and each person, be them the recipient of the power or the giver of the power, must also satisfy those requirements.
Datidin noted that it would be useless if the government did not amend the Act to accommodate the amended Power of Attorney Bill. Documents that must be presented to the Deeds Registry are photographs of the donor of the power and recipient, statements of the witnesses, and the seal of the notary public or magistrate. Police are looking for an SUV driver in connection with a probable hit and run in which a motorbike rider is battling for his life. Esther Sobers has more.
A 19-year-old motorcyclist is left fighting for his life after he was involved in a hit-and-run accident at the intersection of Broad and Ling Streets on Monday, January 24th. Kishon David of William Street, Kitty, is now hospitalized with a fractured skull. Headline News understands that the motorcyclist was proceeding north along Ling Street at a fast rate of speed and allegedly failed to adhere to the stop sign at the Broad Street intersection when he ended up in the path of a blue Honda CR-V with registration plates PJJ 4170, which was proceeding east along the northern side of Broad Street. As a result, the front left side of the motor jeep collided with the left rear side of the motorcycle with registration plates CL2314, causing the motorcyclist to lose control and fall, receiving injuries to his body. The driver of the motor jeep drove away from the scene. Dave was picked up in a semi-conscious condition and taken by ambulance to the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation, where he was seen and examined by a doctor on duty. Dave was admitted and his condition is listed as critical. For Channel 2 Headline News, Esther Sobers.
Thanks, Esther. On Monday, the National Assembly approved the Human Organ and Tissue Transplant Bill 2021. The bill provides the legal framework for the removal of human organs, tissues, cells, and biofluids for transplantation and blood transfusion. The bill states that such transplantations are to be used in regenerative medicine, including cell therapy, gene therapy, and stem cell therapy, and other therapeutic purposes, for medical education and scientific research purposes, including stem cell research, cell explant research, cell line research, and connected matters. Minister of Health Dr. Frank Anthony told the National Assembly that doctors in Guyana have been transplanted solid organs since 2008, but without any legal governance structure.
Right now, in this country, we are doing transfusion. However, we don't have a specific piece of law that governs transfusion in this country. This bill seeks to remedy that deficiency. So I cannot see what is wrong with us introducing now for the first time, after so many decades of doing transfusion, a piece of legislation to govern how transfusions would be done.
Dr. Anthony, who labeled the bill as one of the most advanced pieces of legislation in regenerative tissues and human organs, tissues, cell transplantation in the region, posited that it is in keeping with the World Health Organization's guiding principles on human organ transplantations. He further stated that the bill would enhance the quality of life for some persons.
What this bill seeks to do is really to prolong the life of people, to give life, because many of the persons who would benefit from kidney transplants are those who would be suffering from end-stage renal disease, and the only alternative other than dialysis is for them to have a transplant. And this is what is going to prolong their life. Right now, for the 66 patients that we have transplanted, and more recently those that we have done last year, among them, I think, was a 14-year-old child. The mother gave that child her kidney. And because of that donation, that child would have a very long life. When I spoke to them, when I spoke to that family, I recall the distress of that mother. I recall the challenges that that child was facing. And because we were able to do this transplant, that child is going to live for quite a long time. So this thing does not kill people. This is to enhance the quality of life for persons. And that's what this bill is all about.
A National Human Organ and Transplant Agency will have to be established now that the bill has been passed. This agency will manage the removal, donation, and transfer of human organs to patients in need. The agency will be headed by a chairperson appointed by the Minister of Health and will include the Chief Executive Officer, the Chief Medical Officer, and the chairperson of the Medical Council. There will also be the creation of a National Blood Transfusion Services Department. This Human Organ and Tissue Transplant Bill 2021 will allow scientists, researchers, and clinicians to start researching and exploiting the benefits of regenerative medicine, Dr. Anthony told the Assembly. Stick around after the break. Ghana Police Force detained a couple for illegally possessing a firearm and, according to the Minister of Health, the majority of COVID-19 hospitalized patients are not vaccinated.
good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny? I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Survival Shopping Complex brings to you its delivery service, Shop through WhatsApp. This process is simple. All you need to do is call or message your grocery list to 613-9683 and we will select your items for you and have them delivered directly to you, even out of town. This is convenient because we can stay on the phone with you as we select your favorite brands. We're happy to do your shopping for you. Contact us on WhatsApp today and shop Price Smart at Survival Shopping Complex.
Taxi service, transportation for every occasion, short drop, airport, weddings, funerals, and much more. We're located at Lot H. Durbin and Vicingen Road, next to Green City Bar. For honest, efficient, and reliable service, call Kingdom Based Taxi Service at 648-5959 or 227-7937. You can count on us.
Welcome back. During today's COVID-19 update, Minister of Health Dr. Frank Anthony said the majority of persons being hospitalized with COVID-19 are those that are unvaccinated.
So right now we have 133 people in hospitals across the country, with 91 of those persons at Ocean View. Out of those 91, 20 persons are in the ICU. One of the things that we have noticed that persons who are now coming in with a severe form of COVID disease, that most of them did not take their vaccines. And that's unfortunate because a lot of these patients, they also have comorbidities. So it is important for people to understand that while the vaccinations might not prevent the transmission of COVID infection or SARS-CoV-2, what it does, it is helping to prevent the more severe form of the disease.
A severe form of COVID-19 and hospitalization can be avoided, according to the minister, if people get their vaccine doses.
Among the people coming into our hospitals are the unvaccinated and people with comorbidities. This can all be prevented if people come out and get their vaccinations, first, second, or booster shots. And against Omicron, it's better for you to get all three. The first one, the second one, and then get the booster, because without which you're not going to be protected. So I really want to urge people to do that. As you would see in the last couple of days, we would have seen an increase in hospitalization. It's going up gradually. But apart from the hospitalization, we're seeing that people are ending up with a severe form of COVID, and some of them have died from COVID. All of this, again, I think can be prevented if people take their vaccination shot.
To date, 82.1% of adults have taken the first dose of the vaccines, while 60.6% have received both doses. In the 12 to 17 age group, 44.3% took the first dose and 31.1% took both jabs. The booster doses are now at 35,014. A couple is tonight in police custody after a firearm was uncovered in their home during a police operation. More from Esther Sobers.
In the continued efforts to remove illegal guns from the streets and make communities safer, ranks in Region Division No. 8, under leadership of the Detective Sergeant, carried out a cordon and search exercise at the home of a couple in Princeville Village on January 24th. The search unearthed a 20-gauge shotgun and a cartridge casing. The duo is in police custody and is expected to be charged and placed before the court shortly. The Guyana Police Force on Monday stated that 71 illegal firearms were found and seized in 2021. According to the information supplied by the force cooperative community units, 61 of the guns were confiscated from people who did not have a valid firearm license, while the remaining 10 were discovered during several search operations. 36 are pistols, 18 are revolvers, and the remaining 17 are shotguns. For Channel 2 Headline News, Esther Sobers.
Thanks, Esther. Don't go away after the break. Columbia schools, millions of students go back to in-person classes, and another journalist shot dead in Mexico's Tijuana. But before that, here's the bridge retraction schedule.
When you need money and you gotta get it fast, Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop is the place for that confidential transaction in a quiet and secure location. You'll get the highest value per pennyweight for your gold and also enjoy the lowest interest rates and longest payback period too. Yes, for that instant transaction to solve a pressing financial problem. That Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, 46 Boyle Place, that's between the Ministry of Housing on Brickdam and White Castle Fish Shop, be your first and only choice. Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, safe and sound, solid and secure, always there for you. Telephone 231-7878 and 223-8955.
Hurry down to Zasco on 15 North Road between Camp and Wellington Streets. Quality products at low cost for every room in your home. 65 and 55 inches high-stand 4K smart TVs. Samsung French door fridges. Black & Decker appliances, queen and king size Canadian-made mattresses. German-made pressure pots in 5 to 9 liters. 12-piece pot sets, knife sets, cutlery sets and pans, commercial fans. Samsung smart stoves. Canadian-made 3-piece recliner sofa sets. Air fryers and Hamilton Beach hot and cold water dispenser.
Furnishing your home or office has never been easier. Here at Kissoon's, our inventory of locally made and imported furniture, offered at amazing prices, will leave you wanting more. From vinyl, floor rugs and carpets, bedroom, dining and living room sets, mattresses, pillows, office desk, chairs and filing cabinets, outdoor benches and tables. We have a piece of furniture for every room imaginable in your home or office. Check out our flagship store at Industrial Site Rijnveld or one of our branches in New Amsterdam, Port Morant, Riverton and Camp Street. Kissoon's Furniture, furnishing homes for over 50 years.
Welcome back. Here now is Esther Sobers with today's regional and international news.
Thanks, Bibi. And now we take a look at news in the region and around the world. 2 earthquakes with magnitude more than 5.3 shook parts of Haiti on Monday, killing 2 people and injuring many more. Less than 24 hours after the country was shaken by other tremors, the seismic activity, according to the authorities, are aftershock of the August 14th earthquake last year, which killed over 2,000 people. The first earthquake, with magnitude of 5.3, happened at 8:16 a.m., while the second, with a magnitude of 5.1, occurred at 9:06 a.m. Several houses and roads were reported to have been destroyed. Meanwhile, in South America, nearly 10 million school pupils in Colombia have returned to classes after 2 years of disruption. But this coincides with record COVID-19 infections nationwide and a surge in daily deaths.
With much fanfare, schools across most of Colombia opened their doors on Monday, receiving all of their students for the first time since the start of the pandemic. For friends and classmates, long separated, a day to rejoice.
The truth is, you don't learn much at home. It's not the same as being in class with teachers that can answer your doubts. And I miss being with my friends, having somebody to share a joke, an activity.
Schools in Latin America have been closed for an average of 231 days, longer than any other part of the world. And many lower-income students have been particularly affected by the lack of internet connection or computers at home. For working parents like single mom of 2 Karen Cordero, the reopening couldn't have come sooner.
I couldn't be happier. I work and had to stop to take care of the kids. My daughter lost a year because we only have a cell phone at home. My son was in 5th grade and my daughter in 1st, with classes at the same time. So I had to sacrifice the younger one. It's been hard.
The reopening is happening despite the country's experiencing another major surge of COVID cases. Some cities postponed reopening schools for a week as they pushed to increase the number of vaccinated students. But in the capital Bogotá, the reopening went on as planned. At least 64% of public school students have received at least 1 dose of the vaccine.
Today is much more than simply returning to face-to-face schooling. It's the beginning of a new form of life and education. We all need to learn. It's the beauty of education. Both climate change and the pandemic force us to live and learn in new ways.
But many professors and unions remain wary of the decision, saying little has been done to deal with overcrowded classrooms, lack of infirmaries, and promised hygiene kits in many public schools.
It's evident that all the biosecurity talk has little support in reality. If you look at the overcrowding, all the students in a small space, it's dangerous for them and for us. So on one hand, we're satisfied that they're back, but we continue to worry for the epidemiological situation.
The government says it will closely monitor the impact of the reopening on infection data, but that schools will not close again for the joy of friends and colleagues finally reunited. Alessandro Ampietti, Al Jazeera, Bogotá.
In Mexico, a journalist has been shot dead in the Mexican city of Tijuana. It is the 3rd journalist to be killed in just 2 weeks.
A crime scene that has become all too familiar for journalists across Mexico. Lourdes Maldonado Lopez had been targeted before for doing her job, but this time she didn't survive. Gunmen shot her as she waited in a car in Tijuana's Santa Fe neighborhood. Police received a call, but it was too late when they arrived at the scene.
The Secretary of Security and Citizen Protection had the responsibility to continue to offer security to Lourdes Maldonado. She'd said that when she'd arrive home in the evenings, it was when she felt most vulnerable. She did not have that protection.
Lopez is the 2nd journalist to be killed in Mexico in less than a week, and the 3rd this month alone. On Monday, another journalist, Margarito Martinez, who covered police and crime stories, was also killed. The Committee to Protect Journalists has called on Mexico to investigate the attack thoroughly and transparently.
The brutal reality of Mexico nowadays is that the federal, state and the municipal government simply don't investigate the crimes against the population in general or against human rights activists and journalists.
In 2019, Lopez told Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador she'd feared for her life and asked for support. It followed a labour dispute where she sued an influential former employee for unfair dismissal, a lawsuit she won a few days ago.
Y sí duele mucho.
It is very painful what happened in Tijuana. We will soon investigate. She was indeed here in the beginning of 2019 to make a complaint about the labor issue, and she was assisted. Unfortunately, this happened. We need to see if this assassination is connected to the labor issue or not and find who is responsible.
Mexico is one of the most dangerous countries for journalists. More than 100 media workers have been murdered in the last couple of decades, but only a fraction of those crimes have led to convictions. Sarah Khairat, Al Jazeera.
And internationally, a rush outside a Cameroon stadium where the host nation qualified for the Africa Cup of Nations quarterfinals on Monday left at least 8 people dead and more than 35 injured.
Desperate grief outside what should have been a fun family evening at a football match. Instead, this woman is crying out for her father and asking God, why? Several people were killed when crowds surged at the entrance to the Africa Cup of Nations match between hosts Cameroon and Comoros.
There were people behind who said push. I was among them, and when I saw that, I left to enter from the northwest. They stayed there, and that's when someone left to open the barrier. So someone pulled, they pushed like that. Some fell on top of others. There were even babies.
As the police closed the gate, a crowd of people came from behind, and I was stuck in it, so I couldn't go back. I was below, and God spared me.
Ambulances lined up to transport the dozens of wounded, but heavy traffic appears to have delayed their journeys. People were seen lying motionless near an entrance to the stadium. One person knelt next to one of the victims and appeared to be trying to resuscitate them.
Just now there were 50 people. I saw nearly 50 people on the ground.
The African Football Confederation says it's investigating the incident, and crisis talks are reported to have been called over wider security issues. Olembe Stadium can hold 60,000 people, but capacity's been limited to just 60% because of COVID-19.
The organizing committee of the AFCON, they put in place an attendance cap at 80%. I can tell you that tonight, there was absolutely more than 80% at the stadium. It was nearly full. I'm assuming that's because of the barriers didn't hold up and people sort of rushed in. But from what I can tell you is that going into the stadium, there's a very serpentine corridor that's not very wide. It's maybe 2-3 meters in width. And people were growing increasingly frustrated.
Olembe is the main stadium for the AFCON tournament. It's set to stage 3 more games, including the final on February 6th. Alexia O'Brien, Al Jazeera.
Thanks, Esther. Here now is your 3-day weather forecast. And that is it for today's edition of Headline News Updates. Tune in on Wednesday at 7 p.m. for another episode. Be sure to subscribe, like, and follow us on Facebook and YouTube. Until then, please take care of yourself and each other.